Vinaka, Namaste, and good evening. I'm Vijay Narayan. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. Tonight, I will take you on a journey of Frank Hilton organization. What the organization stands for, the work that it does in assisting the children of our country, and the successes and challenges that the organization is facing. With me to take us on this journey is the CEO of Frank Hilton Organization, Sureni Perera. Sureni, thank you very much for talking to us and to tell the story of the organization and the children that you look after here.
Thanks for coming over, Vijay, and thanks for agreeing to do the show with us. It's actually a great opportunity for us to showcase not only the work we do, but talk about the challenges and barriers faced by children with disabilities and their families in Fiji.
As we always talk about, that Fiji Village Straight Talk is on a journey to tell stories that matter to the people, to ensure that we are making a difference in the lives of people. And this is one of those stories. We will now go on the journey, starting off with this facility here at Brown Street. Frank Hilton organization, we know that it started in the 1960s, but it has evolved over the years. Why has that been?
So mainly due to meeting the need and looking at how the world is progressing in supporting people with disabilities. So initially in the 60s, we started as a care facility to provide support and services for children with disabilities, children with polio. That then was registered as the first special school in Fiji. And that is the Hilton Special School that is still under our management. Subsequently, again, the growth was organic. We went from special education to making sure that education was accessible to a wider range. So this facility was built. This is the Hilton Hostel, as it was known, which is a residential care facility. And it was originally a 30-bed hostel, I am told, which was set up in the 70s to allow children from all over Fiji to attend Hilton Special School. But now we have 17 special schools and many, many inclusive schools all around the country. So this facility now only provides care to children with very high support needs, with no family support, and who are at risk of abuse or neglect. In the 80s, Frank's vision was to set up again early intervention services, because as we know, there's a whole body of evidence that shows that intervention during formative years has a better impact on the child. So the facility downstairs was registered. However, it was registered as a primary education facility. Early intervention is usually 0 to 3 or 0 to 8 years. Present day Frank Hilton, this journey actually started in 2012, where we conducted a needs assessment on what actually the need was for support towards children with disability. And looking at global trends, also based on a study done by the National Council. It was done in 2009, which was making women with disabilities visible. That study showed that there was approximately 11,500 people with disability over the age of 5 living with disabilities in Fiji. So as we were dealing with children, we were curious as to what happens when a child is born with a disability, what happens during the formative years. The country was moving slowly towards inclusive education, so starting at 6 years at primary school. What happens before that? As we know, any journey starts at the beginning, right? And if you can change the start of a story, you change the entire story. So we looked at what is best practice intervention services, and then we created the strategy to make sure that we create this center of excellence that provides support to children and families when needed at the earliest point possible. And yeah, so that's how we started, and today we are the only early detection and intervention service provider in Fiji.
Remember, take note of that, viewers, that this is the only early intervention center in Fiji providing specialist care for children who are born with some sort of disability which cannot be maybe managed at home. We are now in the hostel, and we'll be walking through the hostel. Sureni, as we take the walk, I think you can tell me, you said 30 beds, but how many children have been in this facility?
So the 30-bed facility was when it was a hostel. This is now the Hilton home, and it provides care to 12 individuals ranging from the age of 1 year to nearly 40 years. So this is their home. When they come in as infants, our youngest child came in when she was just 6 weeks. We recently, last year, we had another child come in when he was 7 months. So they usually come in here, they're placed with us when they are infants, but this becomes home. And even when they are adults, the level of care required is so much and so specialized that even if we wanted to transition them to another care facility, we can't find any facility that provides that level of care. And so they stay with us throughout their lives. And when you talk about high support needs, it means they require help with every aspect of daily living, from drinking water to feeding to positioning to turning in bed to their grooming and even activities, everything they require hands-on help. So this is a 24-hour, 7 days a week facility. We try to keep the environment really cheery and make it as nice and as homely as possible, because for most of these children, this is the only home they would ever know.
And definitely you need to have caregivers supporting this, and you need funding for ensuring that you have 24 hours caregiving services. How hard is it to ensure that keeps running based on the care that's needed?
Good question. So at one point, our post description required a caregiver at Cert 4 level or diploma level in caregiving to provide care for these children. Right now, when I do a recruitment drive, there are very few who actually respond, because there is such a high demand for caregivers overseas that I can hardly fill positions in here. So they come with a basic level of caregiving qualification, but everything else required to take care of children with high support needs they're trained in-house. So it's continuous, and the training they get here is from physios, from speech pathologists, so everything to do with morning stretchers, exercises, communication with the child, nutrition, all of that we train them in-house. But unfortunately, only 3 of the positions are actually funded through a grant. The other positions, we have 12 of them, so the other positions are all funded through fundraising income. And that's difficult because at the end of the day, it's somebody's livelihood, it's somebody's job. We need to ensure that we maintain labor standards, give them a good, conducive environment to work in, give them job satisfaction, in order that my little ones will benefit. Because so it has been a struggle. We have a high turnover of staff, especially since of late, since we've seen many of our trained senior staff receiving opportunities overseas.
You did say that there's a lot of children who may not go back to their homes at all. You did share with me a story about a great grandmother who's looking after a child. If you can share that for our viewers, please.
So in 2019, we came across a child in a village who the informant did not necessarily tell us what condition the child had, or they just said this child who looks this way. I wouldn't say the words that were used. So we went looking for this little boy who was 4 at the time. And we went into the interior village in Serua and came across this boy who was taken care of by his great-grandmother, who was in her 80s. And the sad situation is that she was giving as much care as possible to this child while taking care of her husband, who was also considerably old and who was completely blind. And the level of care that this child required was very obviously much more than she could provide, but she was doing everything she could. So the story behind this child is that his parents, when he was born, were given the opportunity to put the child through a particular surgery that would have given him a better quality of life, given him a better chance. The outcomes would have been much better than what it is now, but they refused maybe for religious or cultural reasons, or maybe they just they were not aware of how it could benefit their son. But the family had other children, and so they gave him over to his grandmother to take care of. His grandmother passed away, and they gave him over. Then he was given over to the great-grandmother. So when we found him, it broke our hearts to have to bring him over. But at that point, this lady was just overwhelmed with taking care of him. So we brought him over. He's 7 years now. There is nothing much we can do apart from giving him a good quality of life, making him, giving him opportunities to see things, to experience things like any other child would. But his condition is where he will lie on his bed all day, and because of the physical condition he's in, we are not even able to give him much physical activities either. So, this is also, in first world countries, many people would look at it and say, okay, this is neglect. But is it? This woman was doing everything she could for him, everything she knew that would be good for him. Even at the point where the parents gave him up, refused surgery, I would not really fault the parents completely, because they did not understand what it could do for them, how it could benefit them. The system didn't push them to. They were not aware of what was available. Maybe there were no services available. So for me, it's unintentional. People are doing what they can to take care of the children. But in a way, at the end of the day, when they come in here, we feel sort of heavy-hearted because, we feel that at some point in their lives, the system has let them down.
That's what I want to talk about. It's about, you talked about unintentional neglect and intentional neglect. And of course, based on the statistics that we're seeing in this country, there needs to be a change in direction as well in how we can have, yes, inclusive education, but at the same time, making sure there's enough support and resources available, not that an organization is left to fend for itself.
Yes, so there's two ways of looking at it. Disability is everybody's problem. It's not just for children or for adults who have a disability. At any point in our life, we will be, in some ways, dependent on somebody if we grow to a ripe old age. You wear glasses, don't you? So glasses are an assistive device. There are some people who require crutches. So it is not just, disability is not just one person's issue, it's everybody's issue. But if you look at developed countries, the state would take necessary steps to make sure that children with disabilities are adequately supported. If you look at developing countries, civil society plays a big role. So we can't really say, okay, we are left to do what we can. We do receive support, but it is also our obligation to support states fulfill their obligations to people with disability. But we need to see more change in mindset, political will, change in what I was talking to you about, meaningful participation. Not just looking after disability through social protection programs, looking at how we can increase the potential of a child who is born and identified with a disability as early as possible so that they can communicate, their views are taken into consideration in the development agenda, and they're a part of nation building. Not just physical inclusion participation where they are symbolically placed in front of a cake or a celebration, and that is called inclusion. So going back to your question, I think it's a whole of country, government, society responsibility to make sure people understand that disability can no longer be looked at through a charitable lens. An organization can't survive on donations
and through fundraising
activities. We actually fundraising activities are also costly. I would rather invest my expenses on fundraising into service delivery. But here I have to go out there and make sure we organize events, we run wheelbarrow races to ensure that we have the necessary funding required to keep quality services.
This hostel that you have here and 24/7 care, how much does it cost to run in a year?
So the expense has increased throughout the years. At present, it would cost me approximately $250,000 a year. This includes the component of care, the caregivers, which is a huge part of the expense, food and nutrition, health and hygiene, maintenance, hospitalization of children, and assistive devices that they require. As you see, some of these children would have NG tubes, and that needs to be changed every 2 weeks. So purchasing them, making sure there's somebody to take them over to the hospital, get that done, bringing them back, having staff, adequate staff throughout the day to support them. Many of my children here have seizures, so they need to be monitored during that time. So yeah, it's a huge expense.
250,000, and how much support do you get in the form of, you did say you get some government grants?
Grants. We get approximately $60,000 a year. That goes towards 3 caregivers, and the rest we've got to fundraise for. So what we do is we would ask corporates, we would ask donors, philanthropists to take over a particular area. Some would say, okay, I would look after the nutrition component, or I would look after the specialized assistive devices. Very few, though, would consider the salary component of a caregiver.
Because these people are not volunteers.
They are not volunteers. They are professional caregivers. They are trained professional caregivers. And without them, we can't continue to provide the level of care that we do.
So you have to fend or look for close to $200,000 just to run the hostel 24/7, 365, 66 days a year.
And that's without any large maintenance, roof works, things like that, just as it is. So we get requests to take on additional children, referrals, and it breaks my heart to say no, because one child means at least another caregiver on duty to be able to provide that level of care. As you can see, even when feeding is done, it's one-on-one. One caregiver will feed one child. Imagine one child having to wait. Right now we have 12 children, 4 caregivers on duty during mealtime. We have an additional child. That means it takes that long for a child to wait for his or her meal. So some people feel that we're adequately staffed, said you have enough of staff, but the issue is that if it's a large number of kids. It's not like any other home. These children need one-on-one care. So if you don't have enough caregivers, that means that the care will either be compromised, or the child would have to wait that long time for a diaper to be changed or for a meal to be given.
There's also in the society, there's a lot of children that have had some sort of disability, have been shunned by their own family members. Some have said that, the child may be possessed, or maybe the parent thinking that they may have done something wrong, and in turn their child has been cursed. How are you dealing with those kind of issues, knowing that awareness and counseling is also important for parents?
Yeah, we see a lot of that most often, and see, that is the best part of an early intervention service. Most often parents would come to us because they've heard of what we do, but they come into our service when they're at breaking point. They've been told by neighbors that the child is possessed, or they're looking at their typically growing children and comparing, why is this child not reaching their milestones? And they are looking for information, trying to do their best, and and then they come come to us. So at that point, creating that awareness and supporting them as much as possible to understand that early intervention is not a magic pill that we can give them. It's a long journey of them and us together. And parents then need to, I've seen parents do a complete 360 from being overwhelmed, really, depressed about the situation, to being strong parent advocates. So, there is a lot of awareness that needs to be generated. We need to understand, again, like I said, disability is just not a person with a disability. It involves families, communities, and like I said before, if we don't make sure that a child is included within their family at home, how can we talk about inclusion from a national perspective?
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
Why are we playing outside? Because my dad is thinking my home is gonna be super cool. No way! Yeah, he makes me a new desk. Well, then we can stay together. He's also gonna paint my walls. Where did you get this tool from? Kasabi is there for everything you need. I wish my dad could do that. Because your dad is not Kasabi's dad. Dad, go to Kasabi!
Lula, we are Paradise Roots. Join us this Saturday, the 1st of July at the Fiji Showcase 2023 at the Vodafone Arena, Suva. See you there.
Paradise Roots, live at Fiji Showcase 2023 on the Vodafone Entertainment stage.
Bula Vanaka, we are Dauntless Movement Crew here from Australia, and we are so excited to perform for you guys for the Fiji Showcase in 2023.
Move over, cause here we come. We got a party that's kicking like all night long. We got 10 drinks like extra strong, and already we living till we're seeing the sun. Move over, cause here we come. We got a party that's kicking like all night long. We got 10 drinks like extra strong, and already we living till we're seeing the sun. We bring it like this, we bring it like that. We bring it to the party like we all that. Yeah, we got a party here, that's right. We bring it like this, we bring it like that. We bring it to the party like we all that. Yeah, Santa's hot, that's right. Move over, cause here we come. We got a party that's kicking like all night long. We got 10 drinks like extra strong.
It's gonna be awesome. So come on down with your family and friends. We'll be at the Vodafone Arena in Suva from the 30th of June to the 8th of July. See you there!
Down and play with the Pops of Paw Patrol. Only at Fiji Showcase 2023.
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan, and our guest this evening is the CEO of Frank Hilton Organization, the CEO, Sureni Perera. Sureni, we were talking about community awareness, and apart from the hostel that we've just visited, the actual outpatients that come through Frank Hilton Organization and the community outreach that you do. I've got a map here, if you can explain the type of work that Frank Hilton organization does outside as well?
Right. So historically, we were just a special school, 2 special schools rather, in Suva over here. And we would provide special education. Since 2012, after we changed our strategy towards early childhood development and early intervention, we work through outreach and community-based programs. So how the outreach works is the teams would go out there, screen children. We would train families, train parents, train teachers on providing appropriate support to the child. So we screen, diagnose, and train caregivers. How the community program works is from Singatoka to Korovo. There are children within the community where the teams would actually go out and deliver the service within the community at the child's home. So the teams would comprise of physiotherapists, speech pathologists, behavior support officers, even hearing screening in the communities. So we started with about 150 children in Hilton Special School and Hilton Early Intervention Center. We closed last year with a total of 1,007 new cases. Up till May this year, we've seen 520 new cases, which is, if I would look at forecast to the end of the year, we would see at least a 24% increase in cases.
So the cases, your caseload is increasing. And you definitely have reached a place where the facility can only accommodate so many people, and your staffing is to that limit that you cannot go even further.
So our staff capacity has remained the same for the past 5 years, probably 4 to 5 years. Our case numbers have grown in a huge manner. Our funding and our staff capacity have remained the same.
Outpatient care, you're talking about outpatient care. For the people watching out there, people walking through with their children, you may be hearing some of the sounds from some of the children who are here in the reception area. What type of care are they coming for outpatient services?
So with the outpatient services, so it's an early intervention program. They would come in for screening, assessment, diagnostics. Then depending on what the reports, what the assessments tell us, we would provide them with intervention services. So an intervention program can be an individual intervention program, once a week, twice a week. It can be a group therapy program, and it can be a parent training program. So the children are taken through a block of 10 to 12 weeks with these programs. So it's a multidisciplinary range of services. It's not just targeted at one area. It's targeted at holistic childhood development. So once the child goes through the 10 to 12 week program, again, they're evaluated. We refer to the goals that was initially set up when the child was screened, and then appropriate changes to the program, or the child is transitioned onto another program. So like I said before, it's a journey. Our ultimate goal is for the child to be transitioned to mainstream education, or to be able, or for the parent to be able to provide the appropriate care within the home.
After learning how to deal with the child.
So an important component of early childhood development. Early childhood development has 5 areas: access to quality education, access to health, nutrition, increasing caregiver skills and capabilities, and child protection. So we work within these 5 areas of early childhood development.
To do the speech therapy and the audiology. Nina Takavo, who's also looking after training, capacity development and HR. We are, at the moment, we are in the speech pathology room, and we know a lot has been said for years about Fiji not having enough speech pathologists and speech therapists. Now, how are you faring? I believe I've seen majority of them ever here in Fiji, only at this organization. How is it that there's so much need out there, but we do not have enough speech therapists and speech pathologists?
So for our speech pathology team, we currently have, the biggest team in the country. So we have 2 speech pathologists that have joined us from Sri Lanka, and one who has just recently been qualified from the University of Sydney, and she's a local. She's just joined us this year. But the history of our speech pathology team and the way that they've been able to provide services, in 2015 they were first established, but due to the fact that there was a lack of personnel in the country, there were volunteer consultants that were coming in from overseas to provide these services. And over time we learned that that was not practical and that was not sustainable, especially in providing early intervention services. We needed consistent services to be provided, and so now we've moved towards training and capacity development, where these same volunteers that have supported us over the years come into the country on an annual basis to train up speech pathology assistants. So these are personnel with a background in education, with a background in linguistics and language, that we've been able to work with our consultants to make sure that they are upskilled and they are empowered to deliver the services.
Now, Sureni, the issue in relation to speech pathologists and speech therapists, we know a lot of walk-ins you get now of parents coming with their children saying, I want to get my child checked. Of course, you need staffing to be able to handle that. How are you managing that?
So we've tried to work around it. Like Nina said, initially with no speech pathologist, what we did was we trained a cadre of second-tier professionals called speech pathology assistants. We had 2 trained to continue to deliver the service. Then with we had a caseload of nearly 400 children on a waiting list. So that cannot be ignored. So we had 1 position established, paid for through a grant, and the other position we actually fundraise to support, and we employed 2 speech pathologists. They have managed to bring down the waiting list from 400 to 100. 100. Now we have an additional speech pathologist come on board, and we are really excited because she's the first local speech pathologist here. So for us, it's not necessarily focusing on the barriers, or rather concentrating our efforts on how to overcome the barriers.
The issue in relation to people needing support and coming to you, definitely human resource development, training and capacity is important. Some people think Frank Hilton organization is made up of just volunteers, NGOs providing the work. If you can explain the kind of expertise you need to ensure that the services are adequately provided.
So early intervention services requires a team of multidisciplinary professionals. This includes physiotherapists, audiologists or audiometrists, speech pathologists, and also positive behavior support. Social workers as well, and educators, in order to provide a holistic way of providing our services. For our team, really, we've looked at again what our CEO has talked about earlier, looking at second-tier allied health professionals and looking at overcoming the challenges of a lack of qualified personnel in the country. for us, training and capacity development is investing in the future of these services to be able to be sustainable. And because they are early intervention services, they need to be continued. And there is a need of continuum of care as well.
So if I can add to that, we see that the future is to invest local, grow our local capacity to provide services. And that's why we have capacity development and training as one of our key pillars. So we do provide service delivery, but we have an investment in ensuring that the quality of services is of a high standard and the continuity of services is there. That's why we feel that, you know, the focus on looking at additional training, additional education, professional development for locals is absolutely necessary to continue with this.
With the universities or Ministry of Education, etc., have you had discussions about making sure that we have homegrown specialists or proper education here so that we can fill those positions?
We have, in fact, we presented a concept note to Higher Education Commission many years ago. I think that was in 2016 also on the need to grow speech pathology and the allied health cadre. See, that is a much larger problem. We can only continue to advocate and make sure that we have enough capacity to provide the service. But we will keep, discussions are ongoing. We've spoken to local universities, we've spoken to international universities on how we can actually qualify locals. But yeah, so I'm hoping that very soon we won't have to invest in efforts to find people, we can invest that effort in delivering the service instead.
And you have people readily
to
available.
deliver the service, yes.
Talking about specialist care, we are here in the audiology room, and Sureni, if you can talk about what happens here.
Yeah, so first of all, guess what this room was before? It was a washroom, and it was sound treated, and it's an audiology lab now. Here what is done is basically to test to the level of hearing in children, and I think Shabina would be the best person to explain what is done over there.
Okay, so basically here we test children, we test their hearing actually. So we do play audiometry, we do visual reinforcement audiometry, we do DPOEs where we just test the emissions of the ear, that the cochlea is functioning. So we do like full ABR testing for the children who aren't able to sit on a chair and do a play audiometry. Then we have other means to test them as well. So there basically we put electrodes on the forehead, behind the ears, and then the machine does everything. The child has to just lie down, and it's a long process. So it takes us 1.5 hours to 2 hours
to get one assessment?
For one assessment. So basically we ask parents to bring their food, diaper change and stuff. We make it like very home friendly environment for them, and then we do that. We sit with them on the floor. We have to roll on the floor with the kid. We'll do the same because the electrodes should be intact while doing it. So we just basically hold their hands or just play with them so they don't pull out the electrodes.
Notice the number of cases going up now with this kind of tests needed?
Yes, it is. So as we go down to CWM, Children's Outpatient, to do infant screening, there we pick up numbers and then we bring it back to full diagnosis at Frank Hilton.
The CWM hospital has a certain level of tests that they do, but they do not have...
Okay, actually they don't have this. They aren't able to do any hearing tests there. So FHO, Frank Hilton organization, provides the service there for infant screening.
So at CWM is a basic level screening that can be done. There was I think a nurse who was trained up to do an audiometry test, but we work hand in hand with the peds there. But only children detected at risk probably are referred for.
And those who are in intensive care.
Yes, those who are at risk. So this audiology room provides ear and hearing care, basically from good hearing health to screening, we even do advocacy on prevention of hearing loss, to aiding, rehabilitation and aiding a child with a hearing aid.
Let's see, Rahul is your assistant. If you can explain what does he do?
So he is basically he is my assistant. So whatever I do in this room, he's there to assist me. So he sits with me, distract the child while I'm doing the test. So he basically plays with the child. We try to make it not very interesting because the child then does not cooperate on the screening that I have to do. So I said, no, that is too much. You have to be boring. Make it, your activity should be really boring. So that's what basically he does with me. And then at the same time I train him. So I train him what I do here as well. And also he is an ear mold technician now. So he's been trained and qualified, and we have started making new ear impressions, taking impressions, making ear molds for the kids that needs to be replaced with.
Rahul, if you can explain about the ear mold that you do, why that needs to be done.
So just like as they've mentioned before that, I'm a hearing aid user myself. So the hearing aid that I'm using right now cannot be used for any other person. It's just custom made for one person alone. So the same thing is for the ear molds as well. So because the size of the ear canals are not same for everyone. So each person will have a specialized ear mold which is specifically made for them. And the process we had initially, it was quite rigorous. It took some time, but I think we have sped up our process now, and we are moving on to much simpler, quicker versions of ear mold making. So it takes about 1 day to just get the impression, and then the next day it can be ready. So I think we have shifted towards a much faster process of making ear molds now, and we are slowly involving with the rest of the world.
Sabina, you've been in this unique field in Fiji because there's nobody as trained and specialized as you. What was the motivation behind it for you to get into it?
Oh, it's because of my daughter. My daughter is hearing impaired. She has microtia. Microtia is basically the outside of the ear is not, it's deformed. She doesn't have ears like you and me, so basically it's deformed. So she was my inspiration to be in this field. So I basically also when I whatever I do with so much passion, and in every child I see my child as well. So I give that parents that it's not impossible, it is possible. Like, I can help your child. We together can help your child make a difference. So basically my daughter, I sent her to normal mainstream school, primary, high school, uni, and today she's a graphic designer. So she does wear a bone anchored hearing aid. Without it, she finds it very difficult to hear, but with it, perfect life, like normal life. She lives a very normal life.
What's your message to the people watching this show if they believe their child has some sort of disability that relates to hearing?
Well, I would say the best place to come is come to FHO. We will be able to do the screen the child, find where the difficulty is, and assist the child. Like where the problem is, if the child is able. Well, we also do ear health issues. Maybe the child just have the outer and middle ear that needs to be treated. That can be, it's just conductive, it's not permanent. But if you leave it for so long, that can become permanent as well. Like you can have a permanent hearing loss. So yeah, it's very important. Nowadays we think that we only go to the doctors because our hand is painful, we have a headache, we have some other, but we don't go to a doctor just because we have a ear pain. It is compulsory. It is make a regular check. So make a 3-monthly check, go to the doctors, have your ear checked as well. Excessive wax is not good at all. So I would say we don't go, but when we see daily with Rahul, we see so much wax in everyone's ears. That needs to be treated as well. That needs to be removed. So I would say, please come to me. I will check your ears and I will see whatever I can do. I will do it from my side. We will provide if you need anything. If you need assistive device, we will also do that for you. So I would say that the early, the better. So that's why we do early detection and intervention at CWM Hospital. So I test baby even the day they are born. I'm able to test them because we have the machine to test the babies. The early, the better, because we will be able to provide intervention. We will be able to work on the child's speech and communication. So the earlier as possible, that is the better for it will make a huge difference in the child's life.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
Why are we playing outside? Because my dad is thinking my home is going to be super cool. No way! Yeah, he makes me a new desk. Wow, then we can stay together. He's also going to paint my walls. Where did he get this tooth from? Kasabi is there for everything you need. I wish my dad could do that. Because your dad is not Kasabi's dad. Dad, go to Kasabi!
Lula, we are Paradise Roots. Join us this Saturday, the 1st of July at the Fiji Showcase 2023 at the Vodafone Arena, Suva. See you there.
Paradise Roots, live at Fiji Showcase 2023 on the Vodafone Entertainment stage.
Bulavanaka, we are Dauntless Movement Crew here from Australia, and we are so excited to perform for you guys for the Fiji Showcase in 2023.
Move over, cause here we come. We got a party that's kicking like all night long. We got 10 drinks like extra strong, and already be leaving till we're seeing the sun. Move over, cause here we come. We got a party that's kicking like all night long. We got 10 drinks like extra strong, and already be leaving till we're seeing the sun. We bring it like this, we bring it like that. We bring it to the party like we all that. Yeah, we got a party here, that's right. We bring it like this, we bring it like that. We bring it to the party like we all that. Yeah, sound is hot, that's right. Move over, cause here we come. We got a party that's kicking like all night long. We got 10 drinks like extra strong.
It's gonna be awesome. So come on down with your family and friends. We'll be at the Vodafone Arena in Suva from the 30th of June to the 8th of July. See you there!
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan, and we're still here at Frank Hilton organization, where we are speaking to the CEO of the organization, Sureni, Perera. And at this point in time, we've managed to get approvals and speak to two mothers of children who are getting specialist support here at Frank Hilton organization. The two mothers are Mele Mafi and Rayana Kumar. Thank you very much for talking to us on Straight Talk. Mele, you were sharing with me about the issues. You are a nurse, and you started to find out that your daughter needed some support.
Well, I noted that my daughter was not developing her speech according to her age, and after so many trials and errors, then I got her here for the speech therapy classes. But it was through referrals from doctors at work, and I got to know of the services provided here at Frank Hilton organization through the audiology team that usually come over to my workplace at the Children's Outpatient Department that do the hearing test there every Thursday. So after noting that Dilo was not developing her speech as normal to a 3-year-old, I confined some doctors at work. They gave me some strategies and planned to go and try out at home with her, but still there was no improvement. That's when I realized that we needed a special therapy treatment. So I got the referral. We came to Frank Hilton organization, and we were seen by the audiology team, Joe and Shabina. And from there, then they told me about the other services that has been given from Frank Hilton organization. First, we were introduced to the positive behavioral support therapy session, and that was run by Marina. Marina was our therapist, and after that, then we got introduced to the speech pathology classes. We finished one of the level, and now we're into our second level, which is just a level up from the last. First one was at 6 weeks, then at 10 weeks, and now we are into the process of another 10 weeks. And I think this week was our 4th week, and I've seen a very big improvement and advancement in my daughter's speech. Before she'll just be making sounds, but now she's able to pronounce.
You're saying you were dying to hear her say
Yes.
words? She's saying
Very
words
much.
now?
Now she is, at times, fruits, any kind of food is mama, but now she's able to pick out apple, banana, and I would like to thank the team here for providing these services and helping her out. And I think there's no other organization or any other institution here in Fiji that provide this kind of specialized treatment to kids that needs this speech development.
What's your message to the parents watching out there if they do encounter their children having some sort of special needs that they need assistance in? What's your message to them?
Well, I urge all the parents, and I should encourage them if they get to see or notice that there's some problem at home with their speech. Well, my daughter is going to be 4 in August. I brought her last year when she was only not even 3, before she was 3. When we were joining the classes, and some of the parents were telling me, how come you, like, she's only 3 and she's here already, and the kids are like 7 and 8. So I told them, because I've noticed at home that she was like this. And then even one grandfather, he mentioned during the classes that the parents were like, embarrassed for the kids to come, because they know that child was like that. And it was more like they were embarrassed to get the kids to come and get the right treatment given. Just because I think that that's because a lot of parents are not aware of the services that are provided here, and maybe they are not aware too that those kind of problems, they can be given the right help, like especially for speech. My daughter, first when we came, they said it was hearing. Then we were co-managed by ENT specialists at CWM Hospital. So we had the surgery last September. And now yesterday I was excited, and I was so proud that Shabina had informed me her hearing is okay now. Now it's the speech itself that we have to focus on. So I'll urge all the parents, if they get to see that there's some development at home, please, they shouldn't be holding the kids at home. They should come out and get the special management or treatment needed for their kids.
Rayana, you also have a child in this Frank Hilton organization support services that is being provided. How has it been for your son?
It has been quite well. I mean, he has picked up on his speech, his behavior is very improving, the teachers are impressed, even his own teacher is like, he's doing very good at things. So mostly like, it's a good thing for my kid. And I am not like, people mostly are ashamed to bring their kids and expose them to the outer environment, just to know, like, even to tell the other people that my child is suffering for something, that he needs assistance. Most people are shy and backward, but I'm not. And I'm like willing to bring my child back up and do whatever it needs to for me to get him help.
For a mother, that's the most important thing, for mother and father, to ensure that the right support is provided for the child.
Yeah.
So have you become a champion of making sure if another child is facing issues like your son, that you will push that parent as well?
I will. Every chance I get.
How's it been the journey for your son? What was the issue that you were concerned about, and when did you notice that he needed support?
Well, from early age, since he was 2, I was like noticing it was since it was COVID period. We weren't getting access to any other things. We were mostly like tied up in the house, so it was difficult for me to get out and get help from him. I was thinking he's gonna like pick up every now and then, like when he'll get exposed to the outer environment, he'll be fine. So upon mingling around with other kids, and I started noticing things that he wasn't like capable of doing. After then we went to a specialist. We saw a specialist. He recommended us here. So through that line of following things, we came here and we got the support we needed.
So what kind of support, after the support that's been provided, what kind of things your son has progressively developed?
He has developed socializing skills, complete sentence. He can labeling things. He can communicate with people, and he can label things now. We are into week 4 of our speech therapy. Once this is done, then we'll go back to PBS for him to concentrate on a particular thing for a long time. He has short attention span as well. So his preschool teacher is like mostly complaining about him to not be sitting at his place and doing his work. Mostly he'll be like distracted with other things.
So also you encourage people to do this, as what Mele said. What's your message to the parents?
If you see anything wrong with your child, I mean like not progressing, please do not hesitate. Come get the help you need. Because other people, and especially our older generation, will help hold you back. Even our partners will sometimes as well. You do what you feel right for. As a mother, you do the best you could for your child.
Thank you very much. Back with Sureni here. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan, and this is focusing on another specialized area. Sureni, if you can take us through on what this team does here.
So the team here specialize in pediatric physiotherapy plus pediatric mobility device service. So I know it's a mouthful, but it's basically devices, mobility devices, wheelchairs for children. Now, with an adult or with somebody with no severe disabilities, you can purchase a product from your local chemist and sit them in there. Most often it's temporary. But with a child with a disability, something like cerebral palsy, maybe, you require an intermediate level product that has to be fitted specifically according to WHO guidelines and standards, which is an 8-step process. So we have I think I can say the only fully qualified pediatric mobility device team in the country. We procure our own devices, intermediate level devices, and we have approximately 170 children sitting on our devices across Fiji. So the 8-step program is from screening and assessment, then according to the child's need, you write up a prescription for the product. The technicians, wheelchair technicians, will then assemble the product.
You have an in-house wheelchair technician.
Yes, so we have physiotherapists, community rehabilitation assistants, plus in-house wheelchair technicians as well.
And so what is the technician's role after the prescription is given?
So after the prescription is given, the technicians will then take out the device components and specifically fit the device with the necessary postural supports according to the height, the requirement of the client, of the child. Now remember, if it is not fitted according to the requirement of the client, it can be dangerous for the client to sit on that product. So the technician will fit out the product, then together with the physiotherapist, the technician will actually fit the child on the product, make sure it is according to the prescription, and then every 3 months the technician and the physio will follow up whether the device is safe, is still being used appropriately. Things like looking at the tires, the footrests, and making sure that device is not of any danger to the child. Most often we see children growing fast, so they grow out of their devices, so then we have to retrieve the device and then do a new assessment, give them a new product.
This is quite a specialized area. Again, I will ask you the question. These are not volunteers, that's number one. And number two, how do you source these kind of people? Is there education and specialist education available in Fiji?
So there used to be an organization providing training for wheelchair, the technical and the clinical qualifications required. Now at basic level, any physiotherapists going through FNU will qualify at basic level, but we are still waiting on for the refresher intermediate level training. Some of our technicians and clinicians have also gone through the train-the-trainer approach, so we do in-house training as well. Sourcing specialized people is still difficult. Retaining them, providing them with appropriate remuneration packages, retaining them is even more difficult because some of these areas, again, some of these professionals salaries are supported through fundraising. But we've managed to have 3 physiotherapists, 2 community rehabilitation assistants, and 2 wheelchair technicians with us as one team.
I noticed you were at the end of July, you were having a bara battle, wheelbarrow race, with a target of, I believe, more than 150,000, hoping for more, no doubt. How necessary is that fundraising activity?
Absolutely necessary, because like we saw in the Hilton home, we have a huge deficit. Our fundraising target for a year is approximately 500,000 every year. This is in additional to the project funding that we receive as well. So I could easily say a child's life depends on the success of our fundraiser, because the professionals who are supported through the fundraiser actually impact lives. They are professionals providing standard quality services. So if fundraising does not succeed, we don't reach our targets, this means we may have to cut down on services, on professionals employed. So fingers crossed, fundraising will succeed this year as well.
We have here is Liberty 2 or UCP product. This product comes in sizes. We have extra small, medium, and also large. This product falls under the intermediate product. It is basically given to children with CP. As you can see, it has a tray on its own, in which it is removed. Comes with straps or belts. They have a harness, they have a pelvic pad, and postural supports as well. This is to accommodate the sitting posture of the child when the child is seated on the product. As I've mentioned earlier, it comes in shapes, it comes in sizes, and the bigger the kid grows, our client grows, sorry, the bigger the product is moved in. This product is called a multi-stat. It is a sitting device. This is different from what an average wheelchair looks like. It also comes with a tray. This product is given to the child as low as a 6-month-old to a 3-year-old. This is basically put onto the floor where the child is seated along with the family. It comes with every support the child needs, and also it comes with its own belt to protect the child from falling or tipping over, since you can maneuver the product from sitting to a 90 angle, allowing you to recline it back. So while you're moving this, the child is on the product. These belts protects the child from falling over. We have a multi-go. This is basically also an intermediate product. As you can see, it also comes in sizes. You have medium, you have small, you have medium, and you have large. It's quite bulky and it's quite huge. Most parents prefer other products apart from this one, because first of all, as you can see, transferring the product from point A to point B, it is a difficult situation for the parents when you have the child with you along with his product. But we convince and explain quite well to the parents the reason why they need this product. It is for the beneficiary of their child. We have our simple basic products that we have also foldable ones. This is the new product that we received earlier from Clasp. It is, as I can say, it's basic and it's foldable. But we all know that wheelchairs fold inward. But for this product, you need that to be folded, and also this is removable as well. So it'll be easier for the parents to fit this product into their vehicles.
As we finish off the show for this evening, Sureni, one of the important issues that continues to be raised is the cases are increasing. Your caseload is up by about 24%. Most likely this year could be even more, estimated figures of parents needing help. Definitely a bigger issue affects the whole of the country in how this will be managed. I can see even you have containers now turned into offices outside here.
Yes.
Is this because of the growing demand and lack of space?
Yes. So this original building was the Hilton hostel, which we converted into the outpatient, part of it into the outpatient division. But with the growing number of cases, we have to accommodate room for more therapy space and so on. So these containers were put up as offices to accommodate for admin space. We are full to capacity. Some of us don't even have officers or admin space to sit at. Everybody shares a room with everybody. So that is a huge challenge now, adequate space to support the growing caseload.
It shows the resilience of the organization when you've changed the laundry room into a place where you are setting up ear molds, where you're changing washrooms into the only fully fledged audiology room in Fiji. Resilience can take you so far, but it's quite clear that coordinated approach in support is needed?
Absolutely. So the third pillar of Frank Hilton organizations is to work across all sectors to ensure that we have a coordinated continuum of care across all sectors to support children with disabilities. And I would like to see more of that coming from other sectors as well, because we can't afford, we don't have enough funding to duplicate the work people do. And if we just work together to each of our strengths, there is more efficiency in utilizing funding. Also realizing that these support services are not necessarily a superficial set of feel-good programs that we offer parents and children. It is the right of every child, every family to receive access to health. The idea of universal health coverage is that the health services required are provided when needed and where needed. But unfortunately, health services that we provide are only available in Suva on Brown Street. So something that Frank alluded to was our programs are dependent on the disposable income of corporates and of philanthropists. But can you then say that a right to life, the right to education, the right to health of your child, not necessarily a child with a disability, would depend on goodwill and disposable income? So we need to realize that these services are not offered as a charity. These services should be accessed as a right of every child. And therefore, there needs to be a more coordinated approach into sustainability of these services. Because as you see, the caseloads are growing. We need more of these agencies in every part of Fiji so that services are accessible to rural, remote communities. Fiji has a very wide and diverse landscape. We need to see services offered in the outer islands. So if all of that depends on the disposable income and goodwill of corporates and of philanthropists, how will we ever realize, or how will people who are marginalized, children who are marginalized, access their right to life, right to health, and right to education?
Sureni, thank you very much to you and your team for telling us the story of Frank Hilton organization, for taking us through the journey, and also for talking to the team members. Definitely more action required. The nation needs to wake up to the reality that we have at the moment, and we can no longer just rely on charity or fundraising, but really put a good concrete effort in making sure that specialized services that our people need, that our children need, continues to be provided. Until next week, I'm Vijay Narayan.
Lula, we are Paradise Roots. Join us this Saturday, the 1st of July, at the Fiji Showcase 2023 at the Vodafone Arena, Suva. See you there.
Paradise Roots, live at Fiji Showcase 2023 on the Vodafone Entertainment stage.
We are Dauntless Movement Crew here from Australia, and we are so excited to perform for you guys for the Fiji Showcase in 2023.
Move over, cause here we come. We got a party that's kicking like all night long. We got 10 drinks like extra strong, and already we living till we're seeing the sun. Move over, cause here we come. We got a party that's kicking like all night long. We got 10 drinks like extra strong, and already we living till we're seeing the sun. We bring it like this, we bring it like that. We bring it to the party like we all that. Yeah, we got a party here, that's right. We bring it like this, we bring it like that. We bring it to the party like we all that. Yeah, sound is hot, that's right. Move over, cause here we come. We got a party that's kicking like all night long. We got 10 drinks like extra strong.
It's gonna be awesome. So come on down with your family and friends. We'll be at the Vodafone Arena in Suva from the 30th of June to the 8th of July. See you there.